Pals, and there's also therapy too.
Hi, everyone, and welcome on into Park Pals. Thank you so much for being here. Oh my gosh, we have a huge episode, but I will say there is so many returning characters and new characters, and it's just going to be a blast, and it has been a blast to review this particular episode. I have so many things to talk about, so let's just get on into it. Maddie is not with me today, but she will be back next weekend, hopefully. She's just on a little road trip, so she needs time to get back and everything, but she's going to send in her summary, so we'll go ahead and have a moment listening to that. But okay, oh my gosh, Bailout. What a classic Parks episode, right? Like, just everything that you want in an episode of Parks, as far as Leslie being in the government, but also not really knowing exactly how to get her way and also compromise just a little bit. It's so good. And it's such a great commentary on the world in general and Leslie and Ron's relationship. It's lovely. So here we are, Bailout, Season 5, Episode 16. This was written by Joe Mandy, the one who watches Iron Man online. In this episode, I have referred to him many times before as the guy who watches Iron Man online, and I feel like we just haven't gotten to that episode yet, so people aren't always aware of what I'm talking about. I mean, I guess you are if you're a super mega Parks fan, but it's nice that it's actually illustrated in this episode, much in the same way that I refer to the MC that always comes back, the announcer guy, as the Wood Eye guy. It's nice to see the episode where he actually is that person. You know what I'm saying? Anyhow, okay, so Joe Mandy, we did a little bit of a breakdown on him because he had the episode Emergency Response with Norm Hiscock, who they wrote that together, and I did a little bit of a breakdown. But as a reminder, he is a Lurpus. If you are following along in the Lurpus lore, okay, he was also in Modern Family, if you watch that, as Alex's boyfriend / Claire's assistant. He's been in Hacks. Oh my gosh, can't wait for that season to come out, the new episode or new season on Max to come out. And he also is a part of the writing team on that show. Can't wait. And then, yes, Emergency Response was the first episode he was credited with. And he also worked on The Good Place, like super cool. He's just in the universe. This was directed by Craig Zisk, who has directed so much of our favorite shows. He's done a lot of one-offs, but he directed a lot of Parks thus far. And he did Sex Education, Leslie and Ben, which is a great episode. He's done Scrubs, if you've watched Scrubs before. Rutherford Falls, Tulsa King, American Auto, Veep, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, like so many things that we love. So great team here. All right. So now we're going to get into a summary. Here we go.
Hi, everyone. I am here with a summary for Bailout. Here we go. A local business is struggling, so Leslie steps in to help, but things don't go as planned. April needs a favor from Anne, which leads to an unlikely day of friendship. And Chris trials out his parenting skills while helping Tom deal with some rent-a-swag employee difficulties. So I have some thoughts that I wanted to share. And the first being on the Bailout, that I totally get where Leslie's heart is at, but I definitely would not have stepped in, or I would have had a lot more stipulations on what could be purchased, or I don't know what the rules are around this, Holly. I don't know if like Brooklyn could give you insight or whatnot, or if you already thought ahead and got insight on this, but I don't know if it would be like against the rules for the government to be like, we purchased these 100 movies for you, like 3 copies of each, and this is what you have to deal with, rather than letting him go free reign and turning it into a porn shop. So that's my thought there, is that her heart is always in the right place, but I think sometimes she always feels like everyone's on the same wavelength as her, and that's often not the case, and so they kind of just went off in their own direction. I love this little April and Anne moment, and obviously April is a little meaner to Anne than she needs to be in moments like throughout the entire series, but also in this episode when she's needing something from her. But genuinely, when, Anne shares what's going on with her and Chris, April does a good job of like rerouting and trying to take her mind off of it and singing with her, which I think is beautiful. And this is such an iconic scene for me, this time after time scene. I love it. And Chris trialing his parenting skills. Tom Tom just infuriates me because I know he's trying to do the right thing. I know he's turning over a new leaf. He's becoming more responsible and everything. But the thing that holds him back is like he's making this decision to be with Mona Lisa. And it's just like, bro, you're better than this. And we know that you're capable of more than this. And how did you think that this was a good idea when your best friend, who also is kind of awful, is telling you that she's worse than him, basically? So I just, yeah. But good advice to kind of trial it out on Tom. And I think Chris does a good job. And he kind of starts to settle into his own of this idea. But very interesting, I think, Holly and I, you and I texted for a second about this, that like they're going to both be parents. And I don't think we had ever touched on like, what was this going to look like? When I'm live with you in the next episode, we should definitely like hash this out, like how we both feel about this whole situation. Cause I definitely have lots of thoughts and feelings, but they'll be better expressed and explained when we can do it face to face. So that is my summary and my thoughts on Bailout. I will be part of the recording for the next episode. That is at least the plan. And I am so excited to be there.
Thank you so much, Maddie. Can't wait till you're back. All right, so we start this episode at Rent-A-Swag, and Tom is showing the investors, aka the Parks Department, how their store is doing. Well, Ben's not really in the Parks Department anymore, or even City Hall anymore, but he was. So anyhow, the business is doing great. It's booming. These kids are renting all these clothes like they're going out of style, which they never will. I actually really love that line from Tom. Oh my gosh, and this is what I was talking about where new characters are introduced. We see Mona Lisa Saperstein for the first time. How exciting. And just the most perfect. Jenny Slate is our queen amongst queens. She's John Ralphio's sister. And I just love these names that they came up with. Obviously, we've talked about it before, but Mike Schur is obsessed pretty much with creating character names. And if you're ever bored, just go on IMDb, scroll all the way to the bottom of the cast, and you will see many a name for these, well, for one-off characters too, but especially these, people that are recurring. We've got John Ralphio and Mona Lisa, and I just love those names. Anyway, speaking of John Ralphio, he comes back in, and this riff that he does, the worst, is truly one of the most popular memes I feel from parks, maybe. I mean, I know there's a lot, honestly, and I mostly only use Leslie Knope memes or GIFs or whatever, but I feel like people use it all of the time, and it comes up very, very frequently. So, in fact, a couple people have used that actually in my day job. We use, Teams, Microsoft Teams, if you're familiar, and they have sent the GIF with John Ralphio singing that, and I absolutely wanted to say that I have a Parks podcast, but I kept it to myself. I did. Maybe I'll tell them later. But anyhow, okay. So, yeah, she's the worst. Huge skank, but thanks for hiring her, says John Ralphio. And I love that Mona Lisa is smiling at all the insults, like everything that John Ralphio is saying is a compliment. Like, yeah, And Ben has a point, like Tom is saying, we got to keep it in the family. And he's like, why does it have to be this family? Ben says that. And then we learn immediately that Mona Lisa truly is the worst. The best character, but the worst to be working there for Tom's success, truly. She's not the person to, rely on. She's saying that she can't work because her therapist got her and him tickets to see Pitbull. And I do love this line. It's such good writing, I feel. I don't know why, it's just so funny. And I honestly feel like Jenny Slate is the only one that could do it, truly. But that line of if you say no, it's like you're taking something away from me and I will start a fire in the bathroom. And then Tom is like, okay, I guess you can go then. And I just love that. The quintessential golden rule is broken between hanging out with your therapist. You know what I mean? And how awful those boundaries are and just how messed up she is. So I think that's a really fun backstory moment. And then this was where the worst riff comes in for John Ralphio, and Ben just falls down after John Ralphio basically pushes him over. And I definitely think that Adam Scott is so close to breaking in so many of these scenes with John Ralphio. I feel like Ben Schwartz probably just fucked around and played and made him so close to laughing. And it's just lovely to see. So if you watch closely, I feel like the corners of his mouth are turned up like he's about to start laughing, but he just falls down instead. All right, so now we're at the Pawnee Video Dome, the crux of this episode, and Jason Schwartzman is here. The actor Jason Schwartzman, super famous actor we love, so fun. You've seen him on many a Wes Anderson film and many others. He's also a Lurpus. So fun fact for you guys, there are 3 Lurpuses in this episode. We'll get to the third one a little bit later. Bonus points if you can guess it before we get there. Anyway, his name is Dennis Lurpus, so they're all related. We are screening the Stanley Kubrick's film Paths of Glory. Oh my gosh, super depressing sounding. Like I looked it up, and even the trailer and the pictures just look awful and not fun to watch. Leslie suggests Finding Nemo, one that's maybe a bit more upbeat. And then Dennis suggests Shoah, which, oh my gosh, it has nothing. I thought it was like, I think when I first watched this and I didn't research what Shoah was or what any of the films that he was talking about, I assumed that he was trying to get something that was similar to Finding Nemo, but like just depressing / in his vein of films that he has. And it's not. Shoah is a French documentary film about the Holocaust. And it is 9 hours and 26 minutes. And I am sure that it is a wonderful film and would do well as maybe if you split it up like we do all the time where we binge shows. But not for screening, I feel. Or maybe for screening, but not for to keep your business afloat. You know what I'm saying? Oh, God, it's so awful. But Leslie says that she's there because she started a program to help local businesses, and this is a Pawnee institution. Perd shot his movie review show there, which I think people really love this. And when we talked to Jay Jackson, who plays Perd, it was really funny how they said that they did his hair and everything. And I do love that a lot of the times Perd will come in for like a 5-second moment, and that's this 5-second moment in this episode. But anyway, I just love this too. It's a good story, but it's just not believable. And he's talking about E.T., so he gives it 1.5 stars, which is really funny. Then Andy has fallen asleep during this screening, I should say. And then the screening's over, lights come up, he wakes up, and I guess he thinks he's in bed, so he leans over to almost kiss Leslie, thinking that she's April maybe. And I just thought that was a really funny moment because you can almost miss it if you're not paying attention. And then Dennis Lurpus, the owner of this video dome, says, "The reason I love that film is because it's really depressing." Is Dennis okay? Dennis, are you all right, honey? Do you need something? Do you need a hug? I wonder how we would feel about watching Finding Nemo. Has he seen Finding Nemo? You know what I mean? It's a great film, and it's very uplifting, and I just wonder if that would help him, you know? Anyhow. Speaking of depressing, though, Pawnee Video Dome is closing its doors forever next month. And Leslie is trying to save it and say, okay, everybody rent something. You need to rent something so that you can help Dennis's business stay in business and stay afloat. And so this is where she asks a guy at the screening, will you rent something, sir? And this is Joe Mandy, the one who says, why would I do that? All movies are online for free. And it also, this is really funny. This is super cute because while he's saying his line, the title screen says written by Joe Mandy. And I know that's really random, but I feel like that very rarely happens. So I thought that was cute. And I also just love this joke of why is he here at this screening watching Iron Man 2 at a screening of where you're in person watching a movie at a rental video. I just love that, I guess he got bored maybe and was like, Iron Man 2 it is. You know what I mean? Well, anyway, then we learn why it's closing, really. I mean, we kind of sort of knew with this, clues of what movies he's showing and stuff, but it's because he doesn't carry cartoons. And someone did say, I'll have to go back and watch, but someone did say that there is a SpongeBob movie or SpongeBob something or other in the background. So like there is a cartoon, but I feel like that was a mistake. So I'm just going to pretend that didn't happen. But anyway, the reason why he's closing is because there's really no movies that anyone would really want to rent, especially in Pawnee where it's kind of a family town, and you want something that you can watch with the whole fam, or, you know, something exciting and nice, and they're all depressing and sad and black and white and just and old. They're all really old too. None of them are current or something that you'd want to watch from any recent times. I do love his little movement that he does. Oh my gosh, because he says like Pixar or whatever. And I think this is where, again, she says Finding Nemo, and he says, what did he say? Oh, he says, I do have tears of my blowhole, and it's nauseating. So I do take that back, actually. I think she didn't say, I don't think he said show wet in response to Finding Nemo. So sorry. But anyways, the point is, I love his little movement that he does when he says that. Tears of my blowhole. And I love how he says it's nauseating. Like, he enjoys that it's nauseating. You know what I mean? How did you get this way, Dennis? Oh, dear. They also don't have any snacks. You know, Blockbuster and rental stores used to have like movie snacks kind of thing and candy and things like that. And we learned, because she says Red Vines, because she's a Red Vines family. And we learned he doesn't have any of that either. But they do have Japanese slime candy and Bulgarian wheat balls. Dennis! Oh my God. And then I love Andy's line of like, Leslie, seriously, where are we? Because it does feel otherworldly. It does. So now Chris is talking to Ben at Rent-A-Swag about being a dad, and he doesn't know what he wants to do yet. And, okay, I wanted to mention this. So in the last episode, we talked about, you know, why couldn't Anne have just asked Chris on his own time and not have been rushed, but also why couldn't she have just like gone to another sperm bank or something like that didn't have Sewage Joe? You know what I mean? Like, she could have found many different ways to go about this, but then she, you know, obviously with them wanting to leave the show and everything behind the scenes, I think this is just what happened. But now we're at a point. Okay, so someone commented on that TikTok that I made about talking about Chris and Anne. I'm sorry if this story is not great, but and they were like, why couldn't Anne have just done it like the other way, and not necessarily the traditional way? And I was thinking that they meant like, why did she have to ask someone that she knows or knew? But then we get to the point late. I guess we'll talk about it later. No, we'll just talk about it now, and then I'll skip over it when we get to that part. But in this episode, it becomes clear that he is asking or being asked to be a dad and not just to donate sperm, because later in the episode he says, yeah, I want to raise a kid with you. Like, I want to be a dad. I can parent, like after his whole Tom experiment. And I'm like, where did that happen? We totally skipped over that part. This whole time, I mean, unless I'm insane, cuckoo bananas, Anne has just been asking for sperm. She's not asking anyone to be the dad, to raise this kid with her. So where was that? You know what I'm saying? Like, she wasn't asking Pete the pistol to raise this kid with her. He was asking for sperm, or Dr. Harris. Or is it because it's Chris and they've like had a relationship before and she knows him and stuff like well that she wants him to raise the kid with him? But where was that conversation? I want to have a baby and I need a sperm donor kind of thing. That's like what she said in correspondence lunch. So I guess I'm confused. And I texted Maddie during this time too, because I was like, am I insane or did I miss that? Like, where did we go from sperm donor to like, you're the dad/parent of this kid if you donate? Silence. Question mark. So that's kind of where my confusion is. Why what, I don't know. And I could understand if there was a conversation of like, well, you donated the sperm, and if I'm going to live here, we don't know that she's moving yet, but if I'm going to live here and you're going to like see the kid, then like maybe there should be some sort of like, you know, awareness of who you are to this kid, but to raise the kid with her. Where did that happen? We skipped over that. Anyway, moving on, I suppose. Okay, so that's kind of my whole deal with that, with the whole Ann and Chris thing. It just doesn't feel right, and this time I'm a little. Yeah, I feel like last episode I was a little bit more like, not angry, but just like, what the F? Where did this why do we have to do it this way, kind of thing? And I think I understood the actual premise of it, but like the way that it was done was weird. And now I'm just like, we totally skipped over everything now. So as far as like the traditional way, this is the whole point of this story, is that like the traditional way, like that person said in the comment, why did she have to do it the way where she's the mom and he's the dad and they raise it together? What are they gonna like live together? They didn't discuss any of that in the show. I just don't get it. Doesn't make sense. So, anyhow, okay, moving on. Okay, yeah, I just can't get over it, dude. The more I knew it was weird before I analyzed it. Sorry, guys. Skip ahead 15 seconds if you need to. But anyhow, all right. Okay, so Tom thinks Mona Lisa is stealing from her, which she most definitely is. Like, she has to be, right? Ben says to get rid of her, and Tom says he can't because he has a cocktail party for all the best clients, and he doesn't have time to find someone new. And honestly, like, having no one would be better than having her. Like, Tom, come on. I think you see that, right? Like, come on. That's weird. But, you know, it's fine. So then Ben suggests to parent Tom a little to see what happens, and how Chris would feel about raising a kid. And, you know, parenting a sack of flour in high school was kind of the metaphor that they used, as far as like, you know, we had to look after and make sure that they were, you know, surviving essentially. So why don't you do that? And that's also a weird experiment to me in high school, but I actually never did that. I feel like I knew people who did, but I never did that. Anyway, John Ralphio comes in because he heard that they're tricking high schoolers into, or he heard flour and assumed that they were tricking high schoolers into like buying fake drugs. If so, I'm in. Yeah, okay. Again, with the whole Anne awkwardness being just so unnecessary. Like, if you're this awkward asking him, how awkward are you going to be if you like run into him and well, this is again before we talk about the whole dad thing, because the whole dad thing is at the end of the episode, but I don't think we know that before. You're kind of getting a sense of it with Ben saying like, you know, well, you should try to parent Tom, sack of flour thing. But I was thinking like, if you're this awkward asking him, how awkward are you going to be if you run into him and you're with like your kid together? You know what I mean? I don't know. I guess I'd get over it. So anyway, April tells Anne that she wants to apply to a vet school in Bloomington, and she needs a letter of recommendation. So she wants to ask Anne, which I think is wonderful. This is the wonderful thing in this episode. This is probably my favorite thing in this episode, to be honest. It's so wonderful that she's taking steps to be happy and move forward in her life and career, and she's thinking about her future, which she's never done before. She's never shown us really, I mean, she's thought about government stuff, but she's never shown us that she really wants to, you know, take her life and her career and her future seriously. So this is really lovely to see. And then Anne uses this as leverage to try to get April to like her. This whole bag, I think Anne's character arc is just downhill for me. I'm so sorry. That sucks. I hate that I feel that way. But this whole thing of like, why do they have to be friends? Why do they have to hang out? Like, I don't understand why she needs that so much. You know what I mean? It all ends up well because at the end of the episode, April does show some maturity and everything, but I don't understand it, to be honest with you. I do understand, I suppose, that if Anne is going to write a recommendation letter for April, then she should probably at least be nice to her or at least like just be, I don't know, somewhat friendly in asking her. But, so I guess I could see that side of it. It's just weird because she's always wanted April to like her, and I don't really understand why, but it's okay. You know, that's fine. I can get past that. Kind of. All right, so now Leslie is now talking to Dennis, and she wants to declare the Pawnee Videodome a historical landmark so that they get a tax break and can stay open. This is tough. This is a tough one for me. I don't think I like this idea that Leslie comes up with. I understand why she wants to do it. But I don't really super understand why Leslie's so invested in it, because it's not historical for her or for the town, really. Like, I feel like maybe I'd understand if it was, something to do with the creation of the town or something that's like creating this really big, lovely community, but it doesn't really seem like the video is doing that, at least according to the crowd I saw at the last screening. It's not really providing the town anything they want or need. You know what I mean? And so I guess I'm being harsh on that. But I don't super understand why they couldn't have come to a compromise as far as like Dennis doesn't want to have more people. He doesn't want to, he just wants to keep his little tiny niche and it's not working. So like maybe we pivot, and I don't think he wants to pivot. And it did make me think about when she tried to save the gazebo thing, at the Sweetums at Nick Newport's house. And that I feel like I understand a little bit more because, like I said, it's a little bit more historical. It has to do with the town. It is an actual landmark. You know what I mean? So I guess I guess that's all subjective as well as far as like what constitutes a landmark. But in my head, I don't feel like the business owner is trying to make anything better. And I feel like it's only affecting, like, I don't know. It's not even affecting the town, really. So anyway, that's a tough one. It's a tough one. But anyway, Ron comes up and says, like, this man is a failure. His business is a failure. That is harsh. I wouldn't say that. I mean, I don't think that needs to be said. But I do love that Dennis is just kind of nodding and is like, yeah, that's true. You know what I mean? And again, I'm sorry, but that makes me think, like, do you want to save this? Is Leslie just pushing for this? Because that's a very Leslie thing to do, because it has to do with the town. Like, when I say, why is Leslie so invested in this? I understand that it's because it has to do with the town. It's been around for a long time. She thinks it has to do with the town anyway. Anything in the town, I feel, apart from salads, deserves, in her opinion, to be saved. So, and like she said, it was historical as far as Purd goes, but it's just like Blockbusters faded and some movie theater branches faded. Like, I don't know. It just feels like the natural order of things. And it's sad. It is sad. So I'm not saying that it couldn't be helped, but I don't feel like it's necessarily needing a government bailout, or a government historical landmark naming. Anyway, so Ron says there are plenty of deep and intellectual conversations, because Leslie is saying the Video Dome is one of the only places in the town that you can have an intellectual, like, deep conversation. And Leslie is saying, maybe get movies that people actually want to buy or rent. And that's that is, like I said, that's a good idea. And that would help, I think. But Dennis doesn't want to. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't care for those movies, and he doesn't want to make his business more fiscally responsible by doing that. So I'm just like, well, if you don't want it, I'm not going to force you to change, but Leslie wants to force people to change, especially if it's having to do with Pawnee or if it's in Pawnee. But anyway, Ron says there are plenty of deep and intellectual conversation down at Barrett's Hardware, which, by the way, fun fact, there are 2 Barrett's Hardware locations near Minooka, Illinois, where Nick Offerman grew up. So that's fun to know. So Chris is now talking to Tom, and they're sitting abnormally close on the couch, which is so hilarious. I love that physical spacing comedy. That's so funny, especially with the whole son-father thing. And Chris is saying Mona Lisa is taking advantage of Tom, and Tom says that he's really just scared of her. Like, she's not really taking advantage of me. But then Chris says, stand up to her, speak directly. And then I love this line. Where did this come from? You're a smart, successful young man with an adorable little belly. Why did they add that in? I just love it so much. With an adorable little belly. It's so cute. Maybe that's like a kid thing. Like you'd say that to a baby. You have a little cute belly. However, Harry Styles did say that. I want your belly, right? Anyways, it was just a funny moment. Okay, so now they are having a hearing on whether to keep Pawnee Videodome, and Andy is testifying, essentially, saying that he rented his first Bruce Lee movie there, and he also threw a rock at a hornet's nest. And oh gosh, he goes way off track. The point is, you do not throw rocks at a hornet's nest. I love the way he says that. And then Leslie takes over and does her whole thing again, saying that, you know, I think what you meant to say is it's also a place where people get tremendous community value, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, Leslie, I don't know. I just don't think this is the place. I don't think that this is part of your job, you know? Leslie says, okay, are there any other comments? And Ron is here. Wild. He is coming to a city council meeting. And I love how serious she is, where she's like, Ron, what are you doing here? Are you lost? Are you hurt? And Ron is stating his case, like saying he's against this bailout. He doesn't think that the Videodome should be saved by government money. And Leslie is trying to counter that by saying that she likes that this is a place that is intellectual for Pawnee and that she could rent Shashaman if she I don't know if I pronounced that right. Shashaman, if she wanted to. And then Joe Mandy comes in again, aka our Lurpus friend, Morris Lurpus, if I didn't say that before, and says, you can just rent it online. Like all movies are online. It's free. They're like, bailiff. And side note, like I said, all these movies are old. They're like 1950s. I would say the oldest one that they mentioned was like 1975 or something. So, or the most recent one, I should say. And then after Ron speaks up, Leslie says, you know, okay, we'll make sure that's noted, whatever. She's thinking she's just going to move on. But then there are more public comments. And we'll get to that later. But they all pretty much agree with Ron. So back at Rent a Swag, a kid asks how much a jacket is, and Mona Lisa says, ew, that jacket is so ugly. You should just take it. And apparently it's $15 for the day and $40 for the week, which I think is a really good price. That's why he's doing so well, I feel. This kid is played by Jake Elliott. He's been in many things. Two Broke Girls, How I Met Your Mother. Looks like he's still acting, too, which is great. So well done, Jake. Okay, so this is where I'm proving my point when I was talking about earlier, where Tom asks her if she ordered the champagne for the client party, and she didn't do it. She's like, what for the what? Like, what are you saying right now? Again, she is so hilarious. But if you're thinking about this, like in reality, Tom, you knew this, bro. Like, no, of course she didn't do that stuff. And she's on ecstasy, like, oh my God. And she sings her phrases like John Ralphio, because ecstasy takes forever to leave my system. Oh my God. So then Tom takes Chris's advice and stands up to her, and she finds it so sexy that she starts making out with him. And she basically tackles him onto the couch, which I think is really hilarious. And if you like look closely, she's not even kissing him. Like, well, not on the lips anyway at first. She's just basically tackling him, which I think is really funny. Okay, so now at the nail salon, April and Anne are having their little forced friend day. And Anne is talking about crushes and their perfect guy and like how to build their perfect guy and, you know, who you would put together. And I'm just like, okay, stop forcing it, but whatever. We're here. All right, so now we're at the city council meeting again. There's a hardware store owner, Gene, who is asking for a form to fill out for the bailout to get money for his business. And, because he's basically saying, like, people need places to buy tools. And then Morris comes back, I love this, and it's like, you can just buy tools online. Like, you can do everything online. And Leslie's like, bailiff, how did he get back in here? And then he just sees himself out. I really love that little cameo. That's really fun. That's such a fun bit. The hardware store owner is played by Gary Krause, and he's been in a ton of stuff I've seen. Barry, Chicago Fire, Scrubs, Modern Family, lots of cool things. Well done to him, Gary. Okay, then we have Joe from Sewage coming out, and he's asking just for free money, not even for a business bailout like the rest of these people are, but he says he's going to come into physical harm without $3,000. And Leslie's like, well, you should just call the cops if you're going to, like, be hurt or whatever. And he's like, you cannot get the cops involved, okay? So that's a whole thing, which is really funny. And then we've got the character Wilson Gromling from Liberty or Die, and he comes in and says the government handouts are deplorable, but then he comes around and says he needs money too. So, and Leslie does say, you know, when the Video Dome reopens, they will serve a wider range of Pawnee citizens, which is a funny foreshadowing if you have seen this episode before. But, you know, so I think she's trying to make it worth the government's time, essentially. But again, Dennis doesn't want to do that. Well, yet. And then this guy, Wilson Gromling, says, you know, from the Liberty or Die party, he is played by, oh yeah, we'll get into what he says later. But this guy is played by Chris Shoemaker, and he's been in a ton of stuff as well. One of the movies that I saw that he's in, is called A Nashville Wish, and it looks really cute and really, like, cheesy, and like a Hallmark type of vibe movie. The tagline is a Nashville singer has to choose between stardom or a girlfriend. Not a girlfriend, but I think he says like, or love of his life is what the actual tagline is. But anyway, he's done a ton. Chris Shoemaker has done a ton of comedy shorts, and I believe he might also do stand-up because he won Comedian of the Year at the American Comedy Awards, so that's really cool. He does some hosting as well because he has a hosting agent, so lovely. That's awesome. So now we're back at Rent-A-Swag, and we learn that now Tom is dating Mona Lisa. She thought it was really sexy that he stood up to her, so they're dating now. Oh my gosh, I love this line. She says, I need to borrow some money for a reason that is none of your beeswax. Mainly, I need to wax my beef. I can't even get through it. I don't know how she did it. And Chris like spits out his water. Oh my God, it's so funny. I love it. I'm cooling on you. All right, so now Anne and April are also at Rent-A-Swag. They have matching braids, and then she gets awkward with Chris yet again. So annoying. And then April's like, why is it weird? It seems weird. Why is it weird? And then we'll get to why it's weird later. Well, Anne telling her why it's weird. All right, so now they have a little title card thing that says 3 days later. The Video Dome has reopened, and I feel like the shot of the town looks kind of weird at first because it looks really like super old and like a 1970s type of vibe, but maybe it's supposed to be, you know, it is an older town. Anyhow, I just had that in my notes. Anyway, Ron is like, you know, I'm impressed. You really turned this place around. Ron is really into it, and he has a smug smile. Leslie is very excited that she has impressed Ron, and it's a porn shop. It is now a porn video shop, and the government now owns an adult film store. Yikes. And then, if you hadn't guessed it already, this is when the next or third Lurpus comes in. Herman Lurpus is there. I like this store now, as he's like holding up one of the porn videos. Oh my God. Brandi Maxxxx is here, which is wonderful. Our good friend Mara Marini, who is lovely. We interviewed her a while back. I'll post that in the show notes. She's so cool and so nice and so fun and such a hard worker. And it's really cool how she got her role on the show. So like definitely take a listen to that. I'm so glad that they brought her back. And I don't know. I just feel like with the way that they dress her and do her makeup and stuff, I feel like she looks older than she is or something. Because like when I see her Instagram and even when we interviewed her, I was like, she's a really young gal. I mean, I think she is. She's not 18 young, but she's, you know, young. And I just feel like the heavy makeup and like porn vibe outfit costumes kind of makes her age up a bit, which is so funny to me. But Mara was wonderful. She was super nice. So she thanks Leslie Knope for keeping the store in business. And Leslie's like, no, I don't want thanks for this. And I do love this continuing friendship / like twin vibe with Leslie and Brandi. Like, oh my God, it's wonderful how they keep that going. I love Brandi's line of, you know, you've always been a supporter of my work. And Leslie's like, no, I haven't. And then we learn that Brandi is playing Leslie in the porn version of this story. And Leslie's like, no, please don't do that. And she's like, oh, we already shot it. So, I mean, that probably took like 30 minutes to do. Oh my God. And it's just hilarious. So now Anne and April are continuing their forced friendship, and April says she doesn't care about the recommendation if Anne doesn't tell her about Chris. And they're doing the oh my gosh, if you're lost, you can look and you will find me time after time. I was gonna say Forever Young, but that's wrong. Yes, it's Time After Time. I actually love this episode, or this part of the episode. I think it's really cute. I think that it's a nice moment for them to kind of bond and not be forced. You know what I mean? And I think that's what April is trying to get at. Even though she didn't really want to have a friendship anyway, it was like, I think once April opened up and was like, hey, or once Anne opened up and was like, hey, this is what's happening, even though you made me tell you, it's a nice moment. It just is. So even though I think this is forced, it's nice. So Anne tells her, and then April starts singing, and I think she has a really nice voice. I think that when she was singing, I was like, good job, Aubrey Plaza. This looks wonderful. This sounds wonderful. And that's nice, you know, that April just started singing and was nice to her after and didn't make fun of her or anything. I do feel like in previous times, in previous episodes, April would have been meaner and maybe a little bit, you know, just rude, you know? And so I'm glad that they had this moment, and she didn't have to say anything. She was just like, okay, I'll sing and I'll play along, you know? Then they start singing, and Donna comes in. I love this part so much. They do a whole harmony moment. I love this part. I just love it. It's so cute. I would have watched that. That's a great part of the episode. Like, I would have watched that for the full episode or for longer. All right, so moving on. Chris thinks that he has messed up Tom. He thinks he failed, basically, because now Tom is dating Mona Lisa, and Chris had the whole conversation with him about how he should get rid of her. So Chris is like, I failed, so I'm just going to say no to Anne because I don't think I can do this parenting thing. I don't think that I'm the right person to do it. And yeah, this is the part where, because he says a little bit more blatantly, like, I can't parent a child. Like, if I can't parent Tom, I'm not going to be able to parent a kid. And that's where my confusion was. I was like, wait, you're not just a sperm donor? Like, you're asking for a dad? Huh? So weird. Anyway, they're in the parks department, and Jerry is overhearing all of this. So he comes up and he has a very nice moment about small victories and special memories from parenting, and how it's not about like the little tiny things that you feel like you failed at. It's about this lovely treasure that you have with your family. And you know, in no uncertain terms, Jerry just says, like, you could do this. You know what I mean? And then he can't continue. Oh my gosh, I really like this writing. I never even considered this. Like, he can't continue. He just kind of starts spouting off random ass things. And then he says, sorry guys, no one's let me talk this long ever before. And it's both sad and kind of like, oh shit, that's so true. So I really love that moment. I also love this Ron moment next. Leslie and him are eating. This is another huge, I feel, meme gif thing where he says, I know what I'm about, son. I love that. But anyway, they're eating lunch and he orders a party platter, which is why the waiter guy is like, that's a party platter. It serves 8 people. Like, I don't know if you want to do that. And he's like, I know what I'm about, son. This server is named Christopher Frontiero, and he's been in a lot of things. Great comedic actor. Dexter, MacGyver, a lot of cool-looking things that I haven't seen, but look great. And Leslie's like, listen, okay, rub it in my face, Ron. And I love this Leslie line, too, of like, I'm more competitive than you. And he's like, settle down. She's like, nope, settle up because the bill's been paid and I've paid it. And this is a tough conversation. I feel like this is where we're getting kind of back into the part of the show that mirrors what we're going through in life with government and everything. Ron's talking about capitalism and it's what makes America great, and I felt really triggered by that line. This was, you know, a time of Amazon and Walmart, and like the Morris character says, everything's online, but now we are so much more overwhelmed than I think we've ever been with how capitalism has taken over TikTok shop and Instagram ads, Facebook ads for literally everything you could ever need, but not need at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, we're wasting away our world with all of this stuff, and it's making our actual world and climate change happen faster, no matter what you say. And if you don't agree with me, fine. But it's just, it's very intriguing looking at this conversation now as opposed to then, because I mean, business and government are meshing more than ever now, which is weird because I mean, I could see Ron being into the Republican Party with the whole America's great capitalist whatever thing, but also Elon Musk is taking over the government and getting all of our private data. So I don't know if Ron would be into that. He doesn't even like cookies on his computer. So, I mean, he's a libertarian. He's not a Republican or a Democrat. So I don't know if he even would have voted. But regardless, it's just like it's tough because I think we're just seeing how capitalism can both be great and makes the world turn and does make competition for business fierce, but it can also be very debilitating for so many Americans and just the domino effect that it has. So, and I know I'm getting deep, but you know, I think you guys get it by now. Anyway, yeah. So now we're at a viewing party for Pawnee, and it looks like this is a whole separate situation, kind of a compromise to still have the community gather, but not at the Video Dome, not at the Porno Palace now. And Anne gives April her recommendation and, you know, says, no need to pretend to be my friend anymore. You are off the hook. And April does a really sweet thing. She gives her a baby naming book and says she hopes it works out with Chris, and if it's not with Chris, then she hopes it works out with someone else. And that was very nice. And Anne forces this hug, which I'm okay with because they have come a long way, I feel, in this moment. So I think that's fine. Then we've got Mona Lisa coming in with Tom. She says there's a lot of hot D in here tonight. Also, this is dumb, but like, what are both of them wearing? I feel like everything's really mismatched, and I'm sure to Tom it is probably some fashion statement, but it looked weird to me. Okay, so now Tom gets feisty because he has learned that she really likes when he does that. So he was like, you can't talk to me about other guys, okay? And then they're going to make out after she goes to the bathroom. Or gets a soda or something. I can't remember. But then this is where Chris is talking to Tom, and he realizes he didn't fail at the flower experiment, which was a weird thing to kind of do anyway, because Tom says, you know, it's the small victories, and he explains to Chris, like, you know, I know Mona Lisa is not the best option for me right now, but I'm young, she's hot, like, let's just see where it goes, you know, and she did, again, this small victory thing. And that's exactly what Jerry said, and that kind of sparks Chris to make his decision and understand a little bit more of where he stands. And, you know, Tom knows that what he's doing is not deep. You know, like, it's not like they're going to get married tomorrow or have a kid together or whatever. So Chris now goes to Anne and says that he is in. He's in for being a parent and raising a child. But also, what the hell? As an audience member, I'm like, wait, what? Since when? Okay. All right, moving on. So now Leslie makes an announcement explaining the viewing party that the government is hosting every week, which is wonderful. This must be, I think this is at like the community center or something, because that's a total thing that would happen at the community center, like a movie screening, totally, for sure. Dennis Lurpus is going to host the Q&A afterwards. And she says it's going to be The Sound of Music, which I think is lovely. Great film. And it combines, I don't know, they probably did this on purpose, but it combines quite a few of the things that he has been talking about and that Leslie likes. So we've got the music, the musical, like the upbeat show tune moment, but we've also got Nazis at the end and a scary time of escaping, which we did talk about that Holocaust movie. So maybe Dennis is into that. You know what I'm saying? It's a great film to compromise on. And so he's going to host a Q&A after, which I think is a lovely moment to have. Okay. And then we're like getting we're like excited to see Sound of Music, but it's actually the porno version of the Bailout. And I love that she's like, this is not how it happened. Like, this is the wrong movie. Someone turn this off. Ron Swanson is Dong Swanson in the movie. Oh, my gosh. And Leslie is, I think that this was in the deleted scenes, but Leslie's porn name is Leslie with a Z, Grope. Leslie Grope. Leslie Grope. Oh my God, so good. Dong Swanson, by the way, is played by Jaylani Quinn, and he's been in a ton of things too. He's been in SWAT, The Mindy Project. He was in 10 Things I Hate About You back in the day. Also, if you'll notice, Dong Swanson is wearing his classic red polo shirt, which is a nod to, I believe, Ron Swanson's Tiger Woods red shirt sex moment. And also, oh my gosh, I posted this in the stories, so I hope that you guys will see it. But they have the City of Pawnee seal in the back, like behind Brandi Maxxx's head, and it says City of Pawnee. Oh my gosh, that just made me laugh. I love it so much. Well, you guys, that was Bailout. Great episode. Weird episode as far as what are we doing with Anne and Chris. I don't know about that. And I'm sorry that I'm repeating myself, but that's just how I feel. If you have any questions or concerns or comments, please comment on our Instagram or TikTok. We are at Park Pals Podcast. We do have an email, parkpalspodcast@gmail.com. And yeah, rate, review, subscribe, do all the things. Let's talk it up. And I can't wait till Maddie comes back and we can have discussions about all of this. And I hope that you guys have a great week, and all we can do is keep trying, you guys. So I hope that everyone has a lovely rest of your time in the weekday whenever you're listening. Never mind. I was going to say some shows that I'm like watching that a lot of Parks people are working on. And all I'll say is that Somebody Somewhere on HBO Max is DP'd by our lovely friend Shauna Hagen, who also was a camera operator on Parks, and we had an interview with her. We had everything. So she's wonderful, and I just want to support her show because I hope that she has a job forever. So thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Again, like I said, I'd love to keep the conversation going, so please feel free to comment, message, or email, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Okay, have a lovely evening / whenever you're listening. Bye.
There's a park and some pals, and there's also therapy too.